Welcome, everyone, to the Two-Sided Truth, where we tell the truth, you defend it, and you decide. A podcast where, I'm sorry. A podcast where the facts are presented and you decide the winner. Our sponsors for this evening's event is The Flip Side with Lisa Tracy and Shy High Apparel. I'm so excited that you decided to join us this evening. Tonight, we have two debaters with opposing views debating on the topic, do Black communities see real economic advancement from protesting? So, here are the rules of engagement. Our debaters have 4 subtopics/rounds to debate, with an additional sparring round where our debaters will get a chance to ask each other questions and respond. With the exception of the sparring round, each round is about 8 minutes long, which includes debaters laying out their arguments and presenting their facts. And then they will both have a chance to respond before moving on to the next round. You, as the viewer, will vote. You will have a chance to vote on each round. We also encourage you to make comments in the chat. We ask that you are respectful with your comments. Our debaters have worked hard to present their topics and to debate. This message is to both our debaters and our viewers. It's okay to be emotional. However, it's okay to be emotional and passionate, but we want to be respectful. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. However, you can only cast your vote on the twosidedtruth.com. So at the end of this debate, we will have a winner because you would have voted. So with that being said, let's begin. All right. So we have our two debaters here. So I'd like to first of all welcome Joey White and Jonathan McCullough Sr. Joey White, please introduce yourself and tell our viewers a little bit about you and your position and what it is that you do.
Okay, hello everybody. I guess I only have a little bit to tell you. My name's Joey White. In a nutshell, I am the creator of the oldest Black social media site in the world, as far as I know, OurTimeNow.com, built for, by, and about Black people, for us to use as a tool to build unity and community engagement. That's basically it in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joey. Jonathan, please introduce yourself and your position and tell us a little bit about yourself. Oh, you may be on mute, so you got to take yourself off. Jonathan, can you hear me? Looks like you may be frozen. Are you there? Okay, you got to take yourself off mute because we can't hear you. Do you see where the microphone? Let's see if I can unmute you. I can't unmute you. I was able to unmute you.
I'm the founder of Urban Conservatives of America. I'm an advocate. Testing.
We can hear you, Jonathan. Start over for us.
Okay, I'm Jonathan McCullough. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm the founder of Urban Conservatives of America. I'm an advocate for change in the Black community, if you will. That's what I do. It's my passion. I want to see change. And, like I said, it's in my heart. And Urban Conservatives of America is where I started. It's an organization that promotes conservative values, conservative policies, things that benefit us as a community as a whole. And that's who I am.
Thank you so much for that. Now, Joey, you did not state your position. You did not state your position. So what's your position tonight for tonight's topic?
Well, I'm going with the position of protesting does us help um, advance Black people.
Okay, awesome. And Jonathan, what's your position tonight?
And my position is protesting does absolutely nothing for the economic development of the Black community.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I just want to thank you for that. So I just want to reiterate, we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. However, you can only cast your vote on the two-sidedtruth.com. You can only cast your vote on the two-sidedtruth.com. So with that being said, round one. All right, so let me just lay a little bit of a historical relevance here. So tonight's debate, tonight we're not debating whether protests are morally valid, okay? We're debating economic results, jobs, wages, investments, funding flows, policy that changes money, and whether disruption helps or hurts the Black neighborhoods in the long run. All right. So if we define economic advancement, for the short term, it means emergency funding, corporate commitments, local contracts, direct aid, business revenue, immediate policy changes that move money. And for long term, it means wage growth, employment, business formation, survival, home values, wealth, public goods, and sustained investments. So a few things. Civil rights era, measurable wage gains after major legal policy wins. So there were some major wage gains, okay? There were enforcement, labor demands, labor force compensation, etc. There were also legal and policy changes that followed mass mobilization. The same for the Voting Rights Act. In regards to the Voting Rights Act, a research summary from Washington Center for Equitable Growth highlights evidence that VRA helped narrow wage gaps in heavily impacted areas over the mid 20th century. So if I scroll down to the BLM related protests and riots, some of those in 2020 involved nonviolence, and some also involved destructive activity. Insurance industry estimates put civil disorder insured losses from 2020 unrest roughly in the 1 to 2 billion plus range. When unrest becomes destructive, research shows localized long run economic harm. With that being said, subtopic number 1. Do protests translate into tangible outcomes like jobs, funding, policy shifts, and business investments, or do they mostly produce awareness without long-term economic change? And the first person up is going to be Joey.
Of course, me, right?
2 minutes, Joey, 2 minutes.
Just throw me out there. All right, cool. Okay. So, real quick, repeat the question one more time, just so I'm not missing anything.
Absolutely. So it is, do protests translate into tangible outcomes like jobs, funding, policy shifts, and business investments, or do they mostly produce awareness without long-term economic change? The polls are open.
Okay. So do protests get you anything? Me being a child of the 92 LA riots, when we had the Rodney King riots in LA, they were supposed to bring about some form of change. The political machine at the time said that they were going to be bringing jobs and justice to the community after the riots. It's been 30 plus years and there still have been no gains from the riots because, in my opinion, they did really nothing but destroy the community. We can always argue the point of, did we own anything or whatever? But the point is that it got us nothing because we were all over the place. We were just tearing everything down. No structure to what we were actually doing. People were asking, what did you want from this to happen? And everybody had their own different opinion, but no leadership to say we want A, B, C, D. Besides, we want some jobs and some justice. Um, if you look at the '60s, they had some. They had another riot in the South Central also. That brought about some businesses for Black people and some justice, but it wasn't a sustainable thing because as soon as the cameras went away, figuratively speaking, they the jobs and the justice went right along with them and went back to status quo. Same thing with the '90s. It just went right back to the same thing because it wasn't sustainable because we didn't have a plan.
Okay. So you're on the side. So you're done.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
my 2 minutes is up.
Your 2 minutes is up right now. Your 2 minutes up. So I just want to just clarify. You're on the side that you believe that protesting does good, does bring economic change to the
No,
community.
I'm on the side of without structure, protest. Oh, protesting does bring economic change if you have a plan. Just protesting to protest or just going out there burning up everything doesn't get you anything but more trouble.
So that would be a riot. So, but you
Yes,
do believe that
riots, just
protesting
yeah,
is
burning,
does
looting, blah
bring
blah blah.
economic
Yeah,
change. Okay.
yes, that doesn't
All
bring you
right.
anything. Yeah.
Okay. So, Jonathan, same question for you. Do protests translate into tangible outcomes like jobs, funding, policy shifts, and business investments, or do they mostly produce awareness without long-term economic change? 2 minutes. Jonathan, are you there? Jonathan,
Well,
can you
absolutely
hear us?
not. So actually,
Okay.
I agree with most of what he said, because at the end of the day, protests, I think there's two kinds of protests. Am I coming in loud and clear? Can you guys hear me? I think there's
Yes,
two
we can hear
kinds
you
of
now.
protests. I think you have a social protest, and I think since the 60s, okay, yeah, since the 60s, and as a matter of fact, any protest that I can remember have, that Black people have been involved in has always been a social protest. It's always, based in something that is social, relevant to social, and not economic. So I don't see it possible that there's any type of economic advancement if you're protesting social issues. And I think that has been the trick. I don't think any of these protests are organic. And what I mean by that is that the community didn't come together as a whole and say, this is, let's reason, let's talk about some of the things we need, and let's take it to the people that can make a change, and let's protest there. I think all these protests has been passed down from higher up and given to leaders that we see on television and passed to the community. I think it's more or less we've been abused, psychologically abused in that regard, and which is why there is no economic change in the Black community, because like I said, there's no collective unity where we all find out exactly what it is that our issues are, and we put those issues at the forefront. There's always some issues that somebody have passed down to these quote unquote leaders of the community that we so adore. And it's almost like we got other people thinking for us. So absolutely not. I mean, you have Asian people right now are the richest people in America per median cap. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you so much. All right, Jonathan, would you like to counter?
Hmm.
Sorry, Joey, would you like to counter? Now
Hmm.
you're countering in regards to, because you say that you do believe protest does help Black people economically. So would you like to counter?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Protests do help us, as I stated, because organized protesting, because you have a idea, you have a plan, you have consequences and needs, wants, and desires. What do you need? What do you want? What do you desire? Laid out and presented to the power structure, the government, etc., of what you want and what could possibly what could possibly happen if you don't get these things. Now, I'm not saying that the Asian community, which my brother brought up, did this, but after World War II, when the Japanese and other Asians were interned in the internment camps, they came out of those internment camps with a plan. They said, this is what we need, want, and desire, and this is what is going to happen. So they worked together, they got a plan, and they said, we're going to pool our money, build our businesses, and if they don't allow us to do this, then we're A, going to do it by ourselves, or B, we're going to do it anyway. And that's what they've done. If you look at every country, every city, with few exception in America, they have a little Taiwan, they got a little Saigon, they got a little this, little that, and they all work together, pool their money, and they have their own schools, hospitals, everything else. Black people, when we try to do this, they always send somebody to come and infiltrate to find out what we're doing so they can destroy it, because we don't control our own destiny. We allow others to control our destiny because we don't have the leadership. But if we did protest correctly, we would have the similar outcomes as others. That's why I say protesting can be a benefit to Black people if we utilize it correctly. We just don't utilize it correctly in this day and age.
Okay, thank you so much. The polls are open. The polls are open at the2sidedtruth.com. All right, Jonathan, would you like to counter?
Not really. Just very little, that he said I agree with. About us being not organized, and that's the key. It doesn't have anything to do with and he mentioned leader. That's our problem. We don't need leaders. We need inspirers. We need one person to inspire the rest of us to do the right thing. That's what we need. We need inspiration. We don't need leaders. And that's been the problem in the Black community since the 60s. They position, even Malcolm X mentioned that. No other community has leaders. We don't need leaders. We don't need leaders. We have a brain like everyone else has. The only thing we have to do is use it. Martin Luther King said a mind is a terrible thing to waste. A lot of people say, well, why did he say that? He never really explained that. Well, it's all making sense now, because what they would do, after the movement is play on our emotions. We as Black people, we have to admit who we are. We are hyper emotional, more so than anybody. We have passion. God gave us that, but it's about being able to control our passion. And these people exploit that. And, at the Asian community, as I said on the last topic, these people are the richest. They have the richest people in America. The Asians are, and they don't do no protesting. Now, is it because they unify? Absolutely. United we stand, divided we fall. Or that is not just a national cliche. That is something that's real, and it goes all the way down to the community, all the way down to the family. So, that's what's more important. We have to learn how to unify. We have to do that. We have no choice. We live in the greatest time in American history, and a lot of people don't even realize it. This is what you call a opportunity. Opportunity to do what? To change. That's the key word, change. Everything that we thought was good, every leader that we thought was our friend, all of this stuff is being exposed. It's time for us to take responsibility for our own community.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
That's all I have on that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. All right. So I have a question. The polls are open. The polls are open at the2sidedtruth.com. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. But in order to vote, you have to go to the2sidedtruth.com. The polls are open for this round and will be closing soon. All right, Joey, I have a question for you. Name 3 concrete economic outcomes you believe protests reliably produce, not vibes. For each, what change, who implemented it, and how much, and how money/jobs moved, right? 30 seconds. And you don't have to necessarily answer the last part, but at least name 3 concrete economic outcomes you believe protests reliably produce.
Protests produce, the big one is legislation. If we look at the the laws that have been passed in the last 8 years or so. They have the LGBT community that got legislation, specific legislation for their situation. You have the Asians that got the Asian and Pacific Islander hate bill because of their organization. And these are things that unity gets you, and having a focused. Oh, Bob.
Okay, you can go. You go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I mean, when you have a focused uh, people that are working towards one goal, you get further than segmented people that are speaking about 15 different topics. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. All right, Jonathan, I have a question for you. And I just want to say the polls are open. The polls are open. Please vote at the2sidedtruth.com, the2sidedtruth.com. The Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act era is often cited as proof protest work. Are those exceptions? If so, what conditions made them different? 30 seconds.
Well, economically, I mean, you have a right to vote, and most people go out and vote because they have a right, not because they have the ability to reason. I mean, the reason comes before the right. People exercise their right. Well, the right is what man wrote. Obviously, they're inalienable and they're God, but at the end of the day, reason came first. So you have to think about, okay, what am I voting for? What is it? What does it matter? What difference will it make if I vote? So we don't just vote for the purpose of, because we have a right to vote. And I hope I answered your question. Can I continue? Oh,
Just a few more seconds. Go ahead. A few
yeah.
more
So
seconds. Finish your
and
thought.
that's yeah. That sums it up. But I think it was a trick. It was a psyop. We fell for it. I think we wanted to vote. We wanted to do something that we weren't able to do because white Americans could do it, and I think nobody put thought into, okay, well, what is the reason for us voting? And that was never taught. And here we are, 2026, basically voting for the same people that enslaved our ancestors. So obviously there was a problem.
Okay, thank you so much for that. All right, you all, we are moving to the next subtopic. Polls will be closing in a few seconds. Polls will be closing in a few seconds. Most protests are peaceful, but when disruption turns into property damage, research on the 1960s shows localized long-term costs, including property value decline concentrated where Black residents live. There were also major insured loss estimates tied to 2020 unrest, showing economic costs exist even if it's not the majority experience. Subtopic 2. Jonathan, this one is for you.
Are you there?
I don't know. It must
All right,
reset.
we're back. We're back. We're back. Okay, so subtopic 2. When protests disrupt cities and commerce, do the economic consequences ultimately harm Black neighborhoods more than they pressure systems or power? Jonathan, that question is for you.
Is this question for me?
Yep, Jonathan.
Okay, can you please repeat it? Because you guys went off a second.
Sure. When
Can you
protests
please
disrupt,
repeat the
yes,
question?
when protests disrupt cities and commerce, do the economic consequences ultimately harm Black neighborhoods more than they pressure systems of power?
Yes, yes, they do. They do harm Black neighborhoods because, but for the most part, you have how many people in the hood have insurance. Now, the merchants in the community, it doesn't necessarily harm them, but I mean, where are people going to shop? Merchants are going to be fine because their businesses are insured, and the homes, if any homes are destroyed, do these people have insurance to recover? For the damages. But I think it harms. I think it harms the community as a whole, not necessarily the business owners, the merchants in that community, but the business as a whole. It becomes an eyesore, and it's just not a good look. It's not a good look. It's a reckless scene. People should love their community. They should take pride in their community. Once upon a time, the community did take pride in their community, their lawn. So when we start tearing up property in the community, that speaks volumes about how much we actually care about the community. Now, as I said, the merchants in that community, they're going to be fine because most of those people have insurance for damages like that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jonathan, Joey, same subtopic. When protests disrupt cities and commerce, do the economic consequences ultimately harm Black neighborhoods more than they pressure a system of power? 2 minutes.
If we're talking about violent protests, yes, they harm the community. Going back to what I said in the beginning, I'm a child of the 90s in South Central Los Angeles when we had the Rodney King riots. I remember not being able to go to school, go to the store, anything. The city is designed, or especially around the Black areas where the freeways are used as cutoff points. So all the freeways had police sitting in front of them, so you couldn't leave the neighborhood. That means most commerce wasn't getting in, so grocery stores were picked clean and everything because of the riots. When a people aren't listened to, they have to have some kind of safety valve or release valve to release that pressure. The nonviolent and violent protests go hand in hand, but one has to give way to the other in some way. I'm not for violence, but violence has to be brought upon you when you don't pay attention to me. We can only go so far. Should we tear down, quote unquote, our own communities? No, we shouldn't, because Black people are going to be the bottom, the last one that even gets paid attention to. We see it with the fires they had in Altadena here in California. Even though it was a mixed community, it was mainly Black, and they're not really worried about that versus other communities. So it does hurt us, but they need to be heard regardless. So they kind of go hand in hand, but I'd rather do the nonviolent than the violent.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jonathan, would you like to counter? Jonathan, can you hear me? Jonathan, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to
Yes,
counter?
I certainly would. Yes,
Okay.
the young man said that when people want their voices heard, they basically, he said, yes, I can hear you. He said when people want their voices heard, basically, they have to get their voice, but that doesn't mean tear up other people's property. That does not mean tear up other people's property. That is not the way. I can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear. Yes, I was talking. He said, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Tracy?
Yes, I can hear you.
Am I on mute? Okay, great. Okay, he said people, in the community want their voices heard, and sometimes they have to act out or whatever so that Yeah, sometimes they have to act out so that people, they can get the attention of the people they're trying to get attention to. But here's the thing: you don't tear up people's businesses that you didn't build, businesses that you didn't suffer, businesses that you didn't sacrifice to build. You didn't make no sacrifices for any of those things. Why tear up other people's stuff? Just like in Minnesota, they tore up a whole side of town, tearing up businesses, and then at the end of the day, these are places that you have to go and shop. Where's the old lady, that lives alone, the widow that lives alone? Where are they going to go and shop? I mean, we have to think about the collective and not just be so individualistic. We can't do that. If you want my opinion, if you want to get the attention of whatever your issues is, if you want to bring attention to your issues, do it in the voting booth. Do it. Hold your politicians accountable. These people that we go down there and vote for, hold them accountable. That's how you do that. You don't tear up people's businesses. That's exactly what they want you to do. At the end of the day, it hurts the community. It does not hurt the merchant. The merchant will rebuild because, like I said, they probably have insurance. But we don't tear up other people's property. That's a better way to get our message across. And I just laid it out. You tell your congressperson, and it's probably Maxine Waters, right, sir?
Miss Lisa, can I rebut to that or no?
You're gonna rebut. Yes, you're gonna rebut. Before you do, though, I just want to let everyone know the polls are open. The polls are open for this subtopic, and we'll be closing soon. You must vote at the twosidedtruth.com. The twosidedtruth.com. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, I believe Maxine Waters is still over South Central Los Angeles, but when it comes to violent protests or aggressive protests or angry protests or whatever name you want to throw on it, it's always we don't do it when it comes to Black people, but America was started by protest. Anybody remember the Boston Tea Party? They were protesting taxes. It was okay for white people to protest because they were mad because they had to pay all these taxes. And then look at now, we pay all these taxes, but they don't want you to protest. No one listens to Black people until it happens to someone else. Everybody's running around now talking about the immigration protests. If Black people don't get outside and march with us, it's going to happen to you. It's already happened to us. They already practiced on us. That's why they're so good at it with you. So it only is a benefit or a problem when it comes to other people getting the same treatment that Black people do. We aren't allowed to protest. We aren't supposed to be mad. That's why they had all the training in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s for the lunch counter people to get trash dumped on them and everything, because they don't want you to do anything that'll make them mad. But when we non-violently protest, they bring violence to us. Now, you're talking about don't tear up the community. Most of the businesses are not ours anyway. Not saying that you should be doing that. Yes, you should go to the voting booth and everything and run somebody that actually will do something for you. But when those avenues are cut off, there only is one other way. We can only go Martin Luther King's way so far before we have to start following Brother Malcolm.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. The polls are open. The polls are open. Please cast your votes at the twosidedtruth.com, the twosidedtruth.com. All right, round 3. The polls for this round will be closing soon. Round 3. Looking at past movements, including the civil rights movement and most recent protests, what economic gains can be directly tied to mass protests? And where did progress stall? Joey, this is your question. I'll repeat it again. Looking at past movements, including the civil rights movement and more recent protests, what economic gains can be directly tied to mass protests, and where did progress stall?
Well, looking at the 50s and 60s, we were looking for, in my estimation, forgive me, jobs and justice, to be treated like a human being, to be treated with decency, to be treated equal, if you want to call it that, to be able to go to school and have the same things. We had that until we gave that up. Now, where did that stall? In my estimation, in a way, it stalled when we took the pill of integration. Like Brother Martin Luther King said, he feels like he was integrating his people into a burning house. And that's basically where we are. We're the only ones trying to save the house while everybody else is trying to steal what they can get. When we gave up the black schools and the black hospitals and the black this and the black that to go and utilize white people's stuff, they just said, oh, well, that's it. We don't need to be trying to do anything for them anymore because they can just live off of what we have. While every other group decided to build their own. Like I said, I live here in LA. You go from Central Avenue all the way up to LA City Hall, all Asian community, mainly. Like I said, the hospitals, the businesses, this and that. They are self-sustained unit inside of the city. We could have the same thing. We used to have the same thing when I was little. We had black businesses and everything else. They started doing the gentrification in South Central and taking all of the businesses away from black people and giving them to others. So now we are a occupied people in the city. The only way that we can get anything back, like I said, the main focus of this whole thing is unity. And I say we need a leader because someone has to go and present our needs, wants, and desires and demands to the government. That's why I say we need a leader. I'm not saying we need somebody to do all the thinking for us. We need a focal point and a focal person as a leader.
Okay, thank you so much. Jonathan, your question, same question. Looking at past movements, including the civil rights movement and more recent protests, what economic gains can be directly tied to mass protests and where did progress stall? The polls are open. The polls are open at the twosidedtruth.com.
Well, there has been no economic progress. If so, it was for the people, those women that started that had Black Lives Matter. That's where all the money went. I'm talking about the most recent protests, but all the way back to the civil rights movement, there hasn't been any. The movement apparently, the way it looks, have been for everybody but Black people. I think have been used, as I said earlier. It's been an emotional exploitation. But it's not nobody's problem but ours, and that's what we have to look at. We have to look at accountability. We have to be accountable. We have to come together and reason. We have to talk about what is it that we need, what is it that we want in our community. I mean, it's not about social stuff. It's all, it's been since the 60s, social. Think about that. Social. Love me, please love me. Oh, respect me. My life matter. This is ludicrous. Every person, you are a child of God. You are a creation of God. Everybody know that you were made from God. Why don't you know that? So the value system has been broken, and there has absolutely been nothing beneficial in terms of economics that has happened to the Black community right now, today, right now. We are dead last in median household income, dead last. That speaks volumes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Joy, would you like to counter?
Thank you.
The brother is right. And he's saying basically same thing I'm saying in a way. We need, and I keep saying it, we need unity. We can't do anything, with few exception, alone. We can't build businesses alone because no one else, with few exception, will support our businesses. No one will educate our children. We need the networks that we had in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the 80s. I used to be able to go to my neighbor's house and if my parents weren't home and sit there and do my homework and play with my friends or whatever. We don't have these communities anymore. You don't even know who your neighbor is half the time, talking about when you live in a Black community. Now, obviously, I'm in California. It's a little different than living in the South where they have way more Black people. But this is not a hard situation to fix. we can fix it if we want to. We only want to do things when it's beneficial, like when we want to protest some criminal, like Big Meech getting out of jail. They want to, have a party for him, or you want to be mad because the latest rapper done got in trouble or whatever. That's the only time you want to do something. How about we do something else? To rebuild our communities. We need to unify. And I know that I keep saying that, but that's a word that is not in a lot of black people's vocabulary, because we always thinking, I don't want to do nothing with him. I don't want to do nothing with her. If you can't do anything with your own people, you're going to be picked off. Black people are the only people on a battleground that thinks it's a playground. We need to unlearn what we have learned. We have learned bad behaviors, and we need to unlearn them if we're going to be a viable people in the future.
Thank you so much for that, Joey. Um, Jonathan, and before I get to you, the polls are open and will be closing soon for this round. The polls are open, but will be closing soon for this round. Jonathan, question for you. If you are, if you argue against protest
Sure.
is overrated, explain why political power expansions like the Voting Rights Act impacts still matter economically. 30 seconds. Jonathan, I think, can you hear
Okay.
us,
Okay. You
Jonathan?
broke
Okay.
up. Yeah, you broke
Okay.
up. Please
Yep,
repeat that.
sure. If you argue protests are overrated,
Can
explain
you
why
repeat that
political.
real quick, please?
Yes, can you hear me? I think
I
we
can hear
have a
you
bit
now.
of a delay. Okay. If you argue protests are overrated, explain why political power expansions like the Voting Rights Act impact still matter economically. 30 seconds.
Um, they 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 matter in a sense, and then in a sense they don't, because we were used we were used, for that Voters Right Act thing. Now it's they want to apply it to illegal immigrants. So it's not necessarily something that was done to benefit us. It appeared to have benefit us, which would get us enthused and get involved. But at the end of the day, it was an agenda that was much bigger than us, and it certainly wasn't for us. It was for them.
Okay. Thank you so much. Joey, where did progress stall and why isn't that an indictment of protesting itself?
Well, like I think that it stalled, like I said, when we decided to integrate into this burning house. Because if you don't have a structure for your own people, working with somebody else is going to make your agenda not a non-agenda, if that makes any sense. They don't care about you, they care about themselves. Every group that has gotten legislation recently has used either black people emotionally, physically, or spiritually to get what they have. Like the brother said with the Black Lives Matters women, that wasn't a black organization movement. That was an agenda for another group that just used black people and our work to get themselves ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. The polls are closing for this subtopic in about 10 seconds. Um, Subtopic number 4. Subtopic number 4 are strategies like political organizing, voting blocks, entrepreneurship, and institutional leadership more effective for economic advancement than protesting, or do protests act as the necessary catalyst for those paths? And I believe, I'm trying to see who went last. Joy went first. Jonathan, Joy. Jonathan, question is for you. Are strategists like political
Mhm,
organizing,
mhm.
voting blocks, entrepreneurship, and institutional leadership more effective for economic advancement than protesting, or do protests act as the necessary catalyst for those paths?
I think protest acts as a necessary catalyst for those. But I still don't see the results. The proof is in the pudding. I would suggest is that we form a community organization, which is why, by the way, I started Urban Conservatives of America. It's really hard to get people, our community to come together for things that really matter. Gang violence, substance abuse, homelessness. All of these issues are economic issues. Bringing jobs to the community. These things are necessary. These are the things that people take you serious when you present these things. They're not going to take us serious if, and I'm not trying to divert from the question. It's just taking me somewhere. If you don't mind, it's not. I mean, unless we address issues that we are certain that are problems in our community, nobody's going to take us serious. But we have to come together, and now is the time. And I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Joey, same question.
Can you repeat the question just real quick?
Sure. Are strategies like political organizing, voting blocks, entrepreneurship, and institutional leadership more effective for economic advancement than protesting, or do protests act like the necessary catalyst for those paths? And the polls are open for this subtopic. Yes, go ahead.
So all of those topics, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but all of those topics have led to some kind of protest by Black people. We have had to kick, cry, crawl, jump, and everything to get every little piece of everything that we have attained in America. Our ancestors had to fight to get out of freedom, to get out of slavery. They had to fight to be considered a human being. They had to fight and protest to get citizenship, to be able to vote. Not even use the vote, just be able to be written in, to be able to vote, to go to school, everything else. So everything funnels back to protesting, because you have to have an idea of what you want, and you have to protest, meaning you have to fight for it, because they're not going to give it to you. The one thing that white people don't like is a beggar. They want you to fight them for everything. They respect you more if you fight. Even if you have to die, they respect you more. They respected Brother Malcolm for saying, I'm going to, what did he say? If you kick my dog, I'm gonna kill your cat, or something like that. They respected that. They didn't like it. They respected it, because at least he was going to fight. If you're going to just stand there and get slapped in the face, they don't like that. So you have to fight in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I'm not talking about burning down towns and everything like that. That should be the last resort for anything, but you have to fight for what you want if you want it from somebody else that doesn't want to give it. And it will be a detriment to them if they do give it, if that makes any sense. White people think that if they give Black people some money, that we're going to use it for ourselves and get more power than them. So, everything rolls back to protesting.
Okay, thank you so much. Jonathan, would you like to counter?
Sure. I think, white people, they're human. They are not the standard. God is the standard. I mean, if there's anything that we want, we can get it from God. And I think that is our problem. That is our problem. We are looking to men to do what only God can do. And quite frankly, our problems are not white people. Our problems are not on the outside. Our problems on the inside. That's where our problems are. Our problems are on the inside. It's about self-identity. It's about security. It's about holding ourselves accountable. It's about being institutionally honest. We have to do these things, and no man can do that for us. We will be protesting and complaining forever until we look in that mirror and say, what can I do to make things better? What can I do to teach somebody? Teach one, reach one. What can I do? It's not about white people. It's not about getting everybody. Just like I said earlier, you got people that wasn't even born here. These people are leading in median income household. These people are leading. They wasn't even born here. So what is it that we've been here since the exception, but we're going to say, oh, it's been white people holding us down? Well, guess what? You got Africans that wasn't even born here that's blacker than us. They are not complaining about white supremacy. They have more, their median income is higher than ours. So we have an issue that we need to address, and it's not coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside. And I think it all stems from everything that we talked about, the civil rights movement, the Voters' Right Act, protests. I think all that was a psyop personally. Now that's for another show, but I can tell you that all of this stuff, if we have not progress, obviously there is a problem. And the problem is right now, I'll tell you, is self-reflection. We have to look within ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. As I said, if people don't protest gang violence, you don't protest the people standing in front of the store selling dope. You got single old women have to go to the store and then you got to navigate through 6 or 7 people standing in front of the store. Come on. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to show people that we love, show ourselves, most of all, that we love ourselves and we care about our community. We cannot look from love on the outside if it is not present on the inside. We have to love ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. Truth is love, love rejoices in truth. And that's the bottom line.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jonathan. The polls are still open for a few more minutes, and then that is all. Joey, would you like to counter?
Please. Okay. My brother, I have to say, when we were in slavery from 1555 basically till 1865, was it God holding us in slavery, or was it white people holding us in slavery? When we were freed from slavery, was it white people that didn't consider us a human being until they or was it God that didn't consider us human beings? No, I mean, what I'm saying is, regardless of God, we have a situation where we have for argument's sake, because we're in a battle where we have white people who have kept us in this position. Not talking about modern, because modern is a whole nother problem. I'm talking about from 1865 to basically 1965. We were not considered human beings, then we were considered human beings. We were not citizens because we were property, all the way to being property. Even through all of that, we built the 20th century. Damn near everything that we look at, even these phones and computers that we're using now, have black blood DNA on them. But they were our growth was stunted by white people, not by black people. Now we can argue the point of, why you can't go to the store and everything like that, because we have not been mentally fixed. I can't remember the exact word at the moment, but we haven't had any therapy for our past condition that we keep passing down to our children. That is one of the reasons why we are in this situation that we're in now. I mean, the inner problems of the black community are a whole nother topic, but for that, I just had to argue on the whole, the whole God versus white people situation it's not what you're saying it is. Let's see.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so I know you probably want to counter, Jonathan, but we're going to go to our sparring round. Our sparring round is a 5-minute round. You can take up to 5 minutes. You don't have to use the whole entire 5 minutes, but basically you can take up to 5 minutes if you all have any questions or anything that you would like to say to one another. So, Jonathan, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go back to that what he just said. Okay, he said, was it God that led us into captivity, and was it God that released us from? Absolutely, it was. Nothing happens in this world without God's approval. Absolutely, it was. Now, was it a bad thing? Oh yeah, it was horrific. But here's the thing: you were set free. You were set free. Right. So this idea that slavery was a bad thing. We all know that everybody's been a slave. And then I take exception when you said that we built this, we went to slavery. You was born free. See, that's the problem. We got to stop. We got to stop embracing what was and learn to embrace what is. We are beneficiaries of their issues that they suffered 200 years ago. We are beneficiaries. That's just like they left us an insurance policy. God, these people, in spite of whatever their condition was, they prayed to God and God answered their prayers. And we are the answer to their prayers because we are not going through what they are going through. To say we went through this, we went through that is absurd. You were born free. I was born free. Lisa was born free. We were born free. Where is the gratitude for their suffering in their prayers? Why do we embrace what we were delivered from and reject what we were delivered to? Why do we claim to be oppressed as they were? Oh, we are oppressed, but we didn't suffer the physical aspect of it. Now we're suffering the spiritual aspect. You know why? Because we put ourselves there. We was not there. We are beneficiaries. Make no mistake. We were born free. We wasn't born in captivity. Living in the Western civilization is a spiritual environment. The only way to survive in this environment, economically, financially, socially, you have to reason. You have to use your mind. You have to cast down emotions. We have to be reasonable. And in 2026, we're living in a hyper spiritual environment. It's hyper now. So let me tell you, we have to grab a hold of what we can. The spirit, that's where the battle is. The battle is in the spirit. And we're losing the battle because we are in our flesh. Everything is social this, social that. Please love us. Please help us. Please do this. My ancestors were slaves. You didn't know your ancestors, neither did I know mine. We're talking about 200 years ago. Most Black people don't care about what happened to a Black person 2 minutes ago or 2 days ago. So you want to tell me we concerned about some what happened to Black people 200 years ago? Come on. We have to let that go and move forward. We have to forget those things that are behind and press forward to a higher calling in Jesus Christ. Now, I don't know whether you believe it or not, but that's your business. But I'm telling you what I believe. We have to move forward.
Okay, let me jump in.
I'm sorry,
Joey,
did you say something?
Yeah, let me jump in. Joey, did you have a counter?
Sure.
Did you have anything to say?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay.
were you giving him the 5 minutes or?
I was not. It was a total 5 minutes, but go ahead.
I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I paused it.
Okay.
My bad, Joey.
It's okay.
I'm sorry,
it's
y'all.
All right.
See, you didn't tell us that. You. Okay.
I thought I did when we were meeting, but go ahead.
Well. Whew, okay. Harriet Tubman and Ronald Reagan were alive at the same exact time. Slavery was not that long ago. The last known slave died, I think, in 1974 or something like that. The person that was in slavery, he was 100 and some years old. I think his name was Sylvester. Slavery was not that long ago. I am the 4th generation from slavery. My great-great-grandfather, my grandfather was born on a Indian plantation in Mississippi. His parents were slaves. My great-great-grandmother was raped by her slave master. Slavery is not that long ago. I met this woman when I was a baby. So slavery is not that long ago. 200 years is slavery ended in 1865, but it really ended in the 1960s. But that's a whole nother thing. What I'm telling you is that Black people are the only people, and you're an example of what I'm about to say, that will use the white man's argument against ourselves. You say that was a long time ago. We need to forget about it. Why do we have to forget about it? But Jews don't. They get billions of dollars every year for remembering that they were supposedly God's people and put into bondage and all this other stuff. We don't get a dollar. And we were enslaved on this land. We don't get anything. Every time we say something, they shut us down. Oh, that was old stuff. Why are you talking about that? Because if you don't remember where you came from, you don't know where you're going. That's why our children don't care about each other, because we don't teach them about our history. I fight my kids tooth and nail to remember that they black, and that, this is what happened to black people. Be careful. Our people are a magical people. You talk about God. Yeah, God gave us every tool except for racism to use to benefit the world. We need to start using that to benefit ourselves. We always benefit someone else. We don't benefit ourselves to our own detriment. We are quick to go to somebody else's business and support Louis Vuitton and all these other people, but we don't want to support ourselves. But back to the topic, the main thing that I want to say is unity, unity, unity. Black people need to learn how to unify. Forget the fact that you're a Christian, I'm a Jew, and I'm a Muslim, and blah, blah, blah. We're all black. We need to work together to benefit ourselves, and that will help perpetuate our communities and our race back to where we are supposed to be. Like I said, from 1865 to 1960s or so, we were building things. We were making things. Since then, since we integrated, we haven't built nothing, or very little or nothing. Having a Michael Jordan and LeBron James don't take away from having a Lewis Latimer and a Garrett Morgan.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. All right. All right. You beat the buzzer. You beat the bum.
I was trying.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So thank you all so much. So I have to say, you all did a wonderful job. I thank both of you all for coming. You did a great job debating. This was a real debate. I know we up against, President Trump and the State of the Union address and all of that stuff. So we'll be ending here in a few minutes. We do have a winner. And I want to say again, thank both of you all so much. We do have a winner, and today's winner is Jonathan McCullough. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Awesome. You are gifted a gift certificate. You're welcome. McCullough, sorry. You are gifted a gift certificate to one of our sponsors at the Flip Side with Lisa Tracy or Shahai Apparel. Thanks to our sponsors for debating. Thank you all so much for tuning in to our debate. Join us next week where we debate the topic of the black community controlled by feminism. Join us for our two debaters with opposing views, Gabrielle Miller and Tariq Khalik. If you want to keep the conversations like this going, check out our newsletter, The Flip Side with Lisa Tracy, where we bring you two perspectives to both sides of the story. Check us out on theflipsidewithlisatracy.com. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, and The Two-Sided Truth. Make sure you subscribe to The Two-Sided Truth so you can keep abreast of all of the different topics and debates that we have coming up as well. Thank you so much once again, and have a great evening.